Alrighty then. This conversation is going to be about ADOS, descendants, American descendants of slaves, and Black, what is that? Black Foundation America. Is that one? I don't know. All I know, the shit is confusing. All I know, I'm getting tired of these different reparation groups that are going nowhere. I guess my thing is, whenever these white people decide that they want to give black people money, who's going to pass that law to make that happen? They don't even want to give it to us. So I feel like, why the fuck are we keep begging for it? Yes, we do deserve it. But do we have to beg for our reparations? Of course our ancestors went through 500 damn near years of slavery. People are indigenous to this land. Slavery. African people were brought to America. Slavery. So yes, of course those people who are descendants of those people deserve to have reparation. But when you have a group of people who are in control of the money and the system that we live within, what? Of black people. 13% of the population? 13%? And 150 years, maybe out of slavery, we're still in slavery. But these groups don't serve us no purpose right now. I'm glad they're on their soapbox talking about, yeah, we deserve reparation, but let's not mix our reparations up with politics. That's my problem. We as the black society, we're being too petty. We're not even, we know when our votes count, but we need to think about what our demographics is in regards to voting and where it counts. We need to stop begging the white man for money. We're so connected to his system, we don't know how to disconnect. We'll argue amongst each other and won't build shit. We'll destroy each other's character just to see who got the best fucking ego. I don't give 2 cents about no ADOS, no other reparation groups, because it's not going to solve our problems. And I know who's in control of the system that's going to vote this shit into law. These old white men are not going to give black folks reparation. Now, do you have anything to say about that?
I agree with you. ADOS, the movement, number one. Well, the only thing I disagree with what you said is I think we need everything. Everybody plays a role. We need the coons. We need the politicians. We need the thugs. We need the working people. All black people on deck. Why? Because they're trying to kill us all. It don't matter, the thing that we're not looking at is they're not discriminating on who they take off the planet. You walking around in that melanated suit, so, you already got on the wrong uniform. But we need everybody's voice because we all come up in different households. We all come up in different parts of the United States. We all come up under different school systems. We all look at different TV shows. We're all stimulated by different stimuli that affects us and how we approach the planet. So with the ADOS, I agree with you. They're not going to give you shit. Number one, America's broke. They can't even afford to pay us what they owe us. That's number one. So to even beg for some shit that they don't even have to give us, that's retarded. But nonetheless, it is appealing to the conscience of, okay, at least stop killing us. At least give us a better educational system. At least stop gentrifying our communities. If you're not going to give us any money, just back off of us a little bit. But nothing. The white man didn't get what they got on this planet by asking. They used whether you want to say physical force, but they use strategy. Sometimes they come with the gun. Sometimes they come with a little bit of muscle. Sometimes they give you a little bussy. Sometimes they come with the what you call them, the missionaries. They use every means necessary to get their agenda met. But we're in a begging mode. We're in a mode of, Master, please, give us free. And I think the only reason why we're so adamant about it now, unfortunately, is because it's evident with the age of technology that we can literally see everybody has sped past us in the nation that our ancestors built. When you look at the Asian community, you look at the Indian community, like, you can almost see that even on a global scale, and I always look at it from this perspective, it's all in us, you just get up on your metaphysics. Everything is in a cycle. When white people came out of Europe, the first person they ran into was the Asian. They got the gunpowder along the way and kept it pushing, went into India, then went down into Africa. I think the system of power is going in reverse. It's going from the white man, then it's going to go to the Asian man, then it's going to go to the Indian man, and it'll come right back to the African. That's just my theory. I won't be on the planet to see it, but that's just the way it seems to go. That being said, when I look at the Caucasian man, bottom line is, I don't think that collectively they even give a shit. They just want to be here. And no matter how many Range Rovers, and when you see these wonderful ass, Lego block houses they putting in these hoods, gentrifying these communities and shit, it's like amazing how they want to live a status above us while we don't have shit, because it boosts their ego and self-esteem. But because they know what, I think the thing that black people need to understand is that no matter how much you dumb yourself down or try to make yourself seem insignificant, they come on this planet in a recessive shell. So no matter how well their house is, no matter how expensive their clothes are, no matter how the finer foods that they eat, they came onto this one on this one life that they have in a recessive suit. Everybody's more dominant than them, but you're the most dominant. So you're not going to be able to coon your way out of that reality. That being said, with this whole ADOS and FBA movement, I mean, it's sexy to, sit there and be articulate and bring the data and talk about, what they owe and try to get the calculator out. I mean, it's already automatic to know that mathematically, man, it is I think with the America's in $62 trillion of debt or something like that. For 500 years of free labor, how many corporations are multi-billion-dollar companies from the transatlantic slave trade? You got companies, you got families in Charleston, South Carolina that don't have no industry. They're still living off of slave money. No industry whatsoever, but their money is so long from that old slave money. So, we were revenue, we were commodity, and I'm not going to get all metaphysical and spiritual about it, but I'm just saying that everything happens for a reason. And I think it's our duty to figure our way up out of this situation, and begging for reparations is not the answer. That's how I see that.
Well, I totally agree, but we can agree or disagree on certain things. But when it comes to black liberation, We should not be begging the people who enslaved our ancestors for anything. We should be building and taking what's ours, what belonged to us.
Yeah, because it almost comes off as, like when Farrakhan, the last march that he had, he titled it "Justice or Else," and he came. The march was right on time because, man, the police killings were getting out of hand. I mean, it was like just the ones that were being promoted. Because, truth be told, we already know there's a lot more killings that go on that we don't hear about, other than what may be shared on social media here and there. But, yeah, it's a lot that we don't hear about. But, man, it was getting so out of hand. And right on time, man, Farrakhan was like, look, justice or else. And that title scared the fuck out of the white society. But, of course, the Nation of Islam just kind of looks out for their own. And you can't blame them. I mean, unless you're a bow tie wearing Muslim, or you part of that MGT, they kind of their own world. But, they're a good representation of being a community, being on code,
Exactly,
being together. They look out for each other. They try to influence us, but that's just to join into their community. And it's a hierarchy within that community. No disrespect to the Nation. I was once a part of it. I was going through my little trying to be FOI, and I was like, man, I'm just not a fucking follower. All this running around in suits and church shoes and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
I respect it, but one thing I notice is that there's
support it.
I do too. Much love, but I'm just saying
it's just not for me.
There's always a hierarchy where, what if I wanted to be a minister? I can't be one unless I'm selected to be. There's a hierarchy in everything. Who wants to just be a fruit of Islam all the damn time? You want to. There's rank and file and structure within it, and the people who get treated the most are the ones closest to the royal family, Farrakhan. So, they're the closest that you're going to see that's organized to the point where they're a nation within a nation. And that's what we need, a whole lot more nations within this nation. We need to go off grid, start our own land, farming, schooling. We need to go back to the Black Wall Street days. We need to have our own. The only difference is we need to implement a military. You're not going to be able to maneuver in a way unless you have a military. Let me explain something to some of you cats out there. And I'm just being totally serious. The one thing that we are so afraid of is the fact that law enforcement, SWAT team, National Guard, all of these people have guns. They have armored weapons, armored vehicles, things of that nature. Now, one thing that every soldier respects, no matter what military you're in, is the other person's will to fight. If you're thinking that, we set up our community and, we have, our own little makeshift military, we're not going to have the same weaponry that the National Guard is going to have if they decide, well, we don't want niggas to have their own community, so we going to bum rush it. But let me explain something to y'all. Ask the soldiers who come back from Iraq. Ask the soldiers who came back from Vietnam. Ask the soldiers who come back from all of these places where America has the most sophisticated weaponry that there is, right? When you're engaged in battle, if you're fighting a tank unit, once the tank runs out, it's 150 gallons just starting the engine. When they run out of fuel and you cut off the fuel truck from bringing the fuel to the tank, it's just a soda can sitting in the middle of the road. It's not doing anything. You can't be afraid to defend yourself. If you got the will and the capability of knowing just common sense how to survive, I have to think harder and further on the chessboard to defend myself. Somebody trying to attack me. When you talk about the Murphy's Law of combat, the scout person And a formation who's trying to infiltrate is always going to be the person that you neutralize first, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be that individual. And they're the eyes and the ears of everybody following behind them, no matter if it's the SWAT team, CIA, FBI, whatever. So I'm saying all that to say, the Rosewood and Black Wall Street and all these other places, and then I heard about Slocum the other day. I just found out about that. Bottom line is, you can't just be happy-go-lucky and flossing in front of crackers and not willing to defend your shit. That's where we fucked up. We built our own. Come on. They brought us over here to build what this country became. And then we go and do the shit on our own. And then they looking and like, damn, we ain't got the skills and the patience to do all of that. That's why we brought y'all over here, so y'all could do the work for us. And then, we walked around flossing automobiles and suits and, all this technology or whatever for back in those days. And then it's like, man, fuck that. We gonna bomb they shit and take they shit. And that's what they did. Took the money, burned down the community, killed the people. But if we'd had a military, that'd have been a different story. You need that. So, yeah, ADOS, man, keep doing what y'all doing. I don't agree with it, and I think a lot of people are not really in agreement with it. But one thing is for sure, you do have a following, and that's your tribe. Take that energy and organize beyond begging the government for whatever, because when you don't get it, going back to what I was saying about the justice or else, it's not like you can demand anything from anybody. Because notice you kind of sticking to the Democrats, and you trying to push a black agenda, and it's like I say, it sounds sexy, but okay, when you don't get now you really think about it. I haven't seen the last debate, but they're not even mentioning reparations anymore. As far as I know.
Oh well, none of these candidates. No, that black agenda don't pay the bills.
Right.
When it comes to reparations, the black agenda does not pay the bills, period. We're only 13% of the population, and a lot of our black men and women, what percentage of them are in prison? That's something you got to think about too. They are incarcerated and they can't vote. A lot of us can't vote. But we think we can save the nation with our vote. Good luck with that. But at the end of the day, we should not be begging people, asking them to forgive us, because the moment they give us reparation, that's the point. They're going to say they're sorry, and they're not sorry for enslaving our ancestors. So reparation is not on the table. Now, on the other hand, if those who were bombed and those massacres that happened because of white supremacy, those people who are connected to those who have died should, in my opinion, that is evidence. Well, of course, slavery is evidence too, but that's right after slavery. Those people should be compensated for their ancestors dying because of fake white news. You have anything else to say?
Real quick, we got a second. I want to add on about if it could coincide. I wanted to ask about what you thought about the Umar Johnson interview on the Breakfast Club.
Oh man, Umar Johnson got back into my, I guess, in my good grace. I guess that's the best way. At first I canceled him. I counseled him. It just seemed like he was not staying on his path. As he was allowing his ego to take him off his path of building his school, and that kind of turned me off. So I left that brother alone. But that interview he did on the Breakfast Club was 100% on point. I haven't been able to enjoy this brother speak in a very long time. He was on point. I was listening, and he said some very good things. And I could see myself in the near future supporting him as far as getting those schools remodeled and up and running. And once he does, I'm in there. I'm supporting. I'm donating. I want to make sure he, completes what he set into motion. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on the interview?
It was refreshing. You know, what I mean, I've supported the brother in the past. Got a chance to meet the brother, and it was not not everything has to be deep, but it was deep for me because seeing a young, strong, intelligent black brother who, when I met him, he had a high degree of humility, but he's definitely gifted. One of the best speakers I've ever heard in my life.
I agree.
And he's definitely here for a purpose. One thing we got to recognize is that we're in a different era, and one thing we have to be mindful of is, like you just said, the ego. I'm not going to get into why I think, what I think caused him to have the lapse in ego and, start, power tripping and all of that kind of stuff. From being the humble brother that he started out as to, getting into stuff with SETI and Tariq and all of that kind of stuff.
All that's, in my opinion, men gonna do what they do. But at the end of the day, you could stop bullshitting around and complete what you set in motion. That's my thing. You don't have time to fight amongst each other. It's time to build, and black folks, we need to do our own reconstruction. We don't need to wait on somebody to help us. And that's what I like to see. I like us to do things on our own without asking someone for money, Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, but real quick, so at the end of the day, it was real refreshing. I thought, he had a different look. He seems to be very focused, and hopefully, he stays on his task. And I agree with you. Hopefully, in the near future, I can help, donate, and hopefully he gets it popping. He's in a good area of the country to have the school popping. And he comes from a city where hopefully it'll take a lot of the energy from the city of Philadelphia and bring it into Delaware, which is not that far, and give an opportunity to start something that can sustain for many generations to come, because education, that is where we are deficient. Definitely. So, that's about all I gotta say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna end my little saying, Black liberation, fuck that reparation. I don't give a fuck about that shit. We need to start building our own shit without trying to depend on other people. And I think we can make it happen once we start, letting out, leave our egos at the door or our religion and start building our community, so our children can grow up in a healthy place, come up with a different mindset, change the narrative of how some poor people raise their children in their family. A lot of that can be phased out if we start treating each other better. And I'm going to say peace.
Peace.